Are you going through a time in life right now where you just feel unfulfilled, where you know God is calling you to more, you know God has made you for more, but you just feel stuck in your circumstances right now? Maybe it's a job that you're stuck in, or a cycle of life, a lifestyle that you're stuck in, or a relationship that you're stuck in, or even if it is a good situation, you just know deep down in your heart that you have more in store for your life, that God has more for you according to the abilities that you have, according to the blessings in your life, according to your relationship with Him. If that resonates with you, I want to talk about how God is renewing your mind right now. Yo, what's good, y'all? It's your boy Paul Bernard II, also known as Pete B. I've been a full-time content creator and entrepreneur for about the last 5 years. And I can tell you right now, over my years of development to get where I am today, there were multiple times where I felt stuck, where I had a feeling of a lack of fulfillment. I knew God was calling me to more, but I just didn't know the road to get there. The first time I felt this was in 2019. I had just dropped out of full-time college after 1 year of going to school because I wanted to pursue entrepreneurship, and I knew that my calling was not to go to school for 4 years, get a degree, and just go into a job. That was just not for me. So I was working at Best Buy at the time, and I was doing everything that year just to create an income so I could leave that job. I'm telling you, I was working hours before work. I was working hours after work. I was trying drop shipping. I was doing eBay drop shipping. I was doing Shopify stores. I was doing trading, Forex, day trading, everything. I was hustling, and it was all fueled by this fire to just achieve more. And finally, something did work. I landed on digital marketing. I started an agency, and I was creating websites, and everything was going smooth. But then I started neglecting God and pushing towards money and wealth and success. And because of that, my consequence was I went from making about $15,000 to $20,000 a month personally as a young entrepreneur to then having my business crash and crumble. A lot of bad stuff happened, bad business partners, bad deals, everything. And I went from making that amount of money to then having to literally DoorDash to pay for my bills. And not even with my own car. I was using my girl's car at that time because I literally didn't even have enough money to fix the heat in my car, and it was cold in Michigan where I lived. And at that time, I kind of claimed this mindset of being scared to use my God-given abilities. I was scared to business strategize. I was scared to go out and try something new. I kind of just wanted to sit back and receive this punishment. So then at that time, I received a real godsend, and I was able to use my skills to work for a large Christian clothing company. And that caused me to move from Michigan to Texas. And I worked there for about 1.5 years. And though the situation was good, though I was taken care of, I always knew I was called to more. I was using my God-given skills to grow other people's brands and to help them achieve millions and fulfill their dreams, do everything that I wanted to do for myself. But I was stuck there because I didn't truly know what to do. I didn't know what my next step looked like. I kept asking God, hey God, please, just show me where you want me to go. Just give me a clear sign, give me a roadmap, give me a GPS. And I didn't know how to regain that fire I originally had back in 2019 when I was working, doing everything possible to get out of that job. So over the last 2 days, I've had some conversations with some friends of mine. Shout out Jude, shout out Ryan Alexandra, people who love the Lord, have great talents, and they're kind of in a similar spot, trying to figure out how to get to the next spot, how to get out of a job, how to get out of unemployment, to fully walk out the call that God has given them in their life. And a passage came to my mind as we were having these conversations. I thought about in Numbers when the Israelites were freed from Egypt, freed from slavery, freed from their terrible bondage in a miraculous way, crossing the Red Sea. God was looking out for them. They were singing songs of praise to God, worshiping Him, and God revealed His plan for them, His promise for them of walking into the land of milk and honey. But when they actually reached the promised land, Moses sent in spies. Now that's problem number one, because why are you trying to spy out a land that God had already given you? Where was your trust in God that you were just singing about? So He sends in the spies, and they search the land for 40 days. They come back, and 10 out of the 12 spies come back, and they're like, hey man, I don't know if we can do this. Man, there's really strong, big, giant people in that land. The wall around this land is impenetrable. They were making all these excuses. They were analyzing with their own human common sense about the promise that God had already given them. And long story short, God got mad at them and told them, because you did this evil thing, you are going to wander in the wilderness 1 year for each day that you search this land. So for 40 years. And basically why God did this was because He needed to kill the mindset of doubt that was within the Israelites. So I think this is significant because if you are in a situation in life right now, you are in a job, a relationship, a lifestyle that you know is not your true fulfillment of your God-given calling over your life. Maybe God is developing you in and killing your mindset of doubt so you can actually achieve the things he has called you to do. And if you have that mindset of doubt, you're trying to humanly analyze everything in front of you. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? When you know God has already given you a calling over your life, when you already know that God has given you these promises that he said, and when he said it, it's done, it's yes and amen, then that is a clear sign that you're not even ready to walk out in that purpose. When I moved to Texas, I went through a year and a half of a wilderness season. Like I said, I was taking care of the people I was working with. They were great. I had amazing opportunity. I was taken care of financially, but it didn't matter because that wasn't the true purpose God had over my life. And he needed to kill my mindset of doubt, thinking that I was made just to be number two in the company. I was just made to support people, to help them achieve their dreams, to help them make millions, and that I wasn't actually called to live that life for myself. So before I continue, I want to read this verse out of Isaiah 41. Isaiah 41 verse 10, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." So basically, for context, these are the words of the prophet Isaiah, which were spoken over the Israelites. This was at the time of their exile, and God was giving them the assurance that they would reach their homeland again. He was telling them to not move with fear, to move forward with confidence, telling them, "I promise you, I'm going to be with you. Do not fear. My hand is upon you. I got you. I got your back." Literally promising them, giving them every single type of assurance that where they are going to be covered and they are going to be successful. I remember that I reached a point in my journey. I remember this day specifically. It was a Sunday and I was journaling, and I wrote out all the things that God was doing in my life, all the provisions he was providing for me, everything that was going well. And at that time, I still didn't feel my full fulfillment. I was still trying to analyze, figure out what God was trying to do in my life. And I wrote in that journal, I said, "Paul, there is nothing more that God needs to do to prove to you that he got your back." And that hit me at that time because I realized the only thing that was holding me back was myself, was my mindset. God had already promised that. I was sitting in a prison cell mentally while the door was completely unlocked. God was just waiting for me to accept his promises and to walk out in the will that is already in effect. Some of us need to remind ourselves that God doesn't need us. He allows us to participate in his will. So with that being said, if we have full confidence that God's will is going to be done no matter what, if God opens a door, you better dive head first through that thing. No hesitation. Don't sit there and analyze. Don't send your spies to go and check out the land, the promised land. Don't do anything that will hinder the progression of the Lord. Think about if the Israelites reached the promised land and they didn't send any spies, they walked straight through the gate. Think about the miracle that could have happened that day. But because they doubted, because they wanted to trust in their own human intuition, because they wanted everything to be set in stone, in daisies and roses and peaches and rainbows, everything set before them, so they knew for themselves they could feel comfortable in walking forward. Because they did that, God punished them and they delayed the will of God over their life for 40 years. Some of those Israelites who were freed from Egypt could have seen the promised land that day, but because they had to wander 40 years, they died in the wilderness and never got to fully see the will of God over their life. They never fully got to live out that promise of the Lord. I'm telling you right now, you do not want to be in a situation where God takes the promise that he has set over you and gives it to the next person because you are not diligent, because you're not walking out in full boldness, in lack of fear, and in full faith and trust in what the Lord has told you to do. I'm telling you right now, I started this journey of entrepreneurship and content creation and whatever you want to label it as back in 2019 when I left school full time. And looking back over these 5 years, there's only one thing I regret, was that I would have trusted the Lord and walked more boldly sooner. Because I know that if I would have done that, then my wilderness season would have been cut short and I would have been walking in the fulfillment of God's promises a lot sooner. You guys would have been receiving these God-favored messages a lot sooner. Whatever the next step in my journey is could have been done a lot sooner. I know for a fact that when God tells me to do something, there is no chance of failure. There is no chance of hindrance. There is nothing that can stop when God is strengthening us. So with that, I say two things. One, God is for you. God is with you 100%. The promise that he has over your life, God's will, cannot be changed, cannot be altered. It will be done. And number two, do not neglect your development season, your strengthening season, your wilderness season, because in that, God is taking and throwing away the doubt, the insecurities, and replacing it with full strength and boldness so you can walk with the fire of the Lord into the promised land, whatever that means for you. I hope that this video, I hope that these words encourage you. Please make sure to weigh my words against your own biblical understanding, against your own God-given discernment, and against your own praying and knowledge of the Lord himself. I love y'all so much. It is not my goal to lead you astray. It's not my goal just to make these videos for views. I am truly sharing my personal experience and how God has turned my life around, y'all. I'm telling you, y'all, where I was 5 years, where I was last year, where I was at the beginning of this year is astronomically different than where I am today. literally just because of the grace of God. Just because of the grace of God, I don't deserve to be here talking to you at all. Man, I gotta stop, because if I keep going, man, I'm gonna go on for days. I promise you, because God is that good. He deserves my praise for days, for years, for months, for eternity. He deserves nothing less than my highest praise. That is why I'm making these videos, is that he gets the glory. It's not about me. This is God's channel. I am just a steward. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment below. Share your wilderness season. Share where you feel like God is calling you. Talk about your struggles. Let's get real. This is bigger than just us and our own feelings. I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.